press the record button and then say, yo, what up? How's it going, man?
It's going fine. Just going straight into my spiel. I took the list that you're looking at to a PSC in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We had 27 people, I think.
Okay.
4-1, but I got tiebreakered out of top 4, so didn't go further than that. Only match losses have been to Ojiro 2, and mostly just to not being able to backswing for 28 when he goes first.
Right.
Looking to, well, the deck itself is Deku 3 that swaps into Deku 2 when you're going first, guaranteed.
Sure.
It performed pretty well. Use the sideboard a lot, but not always to swap into the Deku 2. It does perfectly fine as Deku 3, but doesn't really look to turn 2 people.
Yeah.
But looking more at maybe trying to do just a Deku 3 if there's things that fit just him and don't really swap into the Deku 2 as much.
That is fair. That is fair. Oh, I'm gonna work a bit on just Deku 3 stuff. And we'll see, because I think this guy doesn't need Deku 2.
After playing him, I played him for 5 rounds, and I swapped in for 2 games, and that's only for single games that I swapped in them, and swapped back out for game 3.
Yeah. When you swapped into Deku 2, what was your win rate?
I think I won both of those games, because I lost first game of the match.
Got it.
One with Deku 2, and then one with Deku 3.
Makes sense. Okay. Wind up punch. How's wind up punch? How's that working for you in Deku 3?
There was a small percentage of the time where I didn't want to see it because I didn't have a One with Nature or a Texas before it.
Sure.
But the fact that when it does line up at stun 4 is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty good. And I'm
also,
sure you've...
This is the list that I played against you a couple times during your subathon.
Okay, cool. I'm sure that you have tried this as Deku 2, siding into Deku 3 going second, right?
No.
No?
I've played plenty of Deku 2. It was just a insurance policy for going first.
Okay. I feel that. So we're still just looking. Dang, 4 of. Crazy. One last page. Yeah. Okay, looks good to me. Alright. Put a bunch of stuff in your sideboard. Easy peasy. First and foremost, let's talk about attack stuff. Number 1, Final Smash. I think this card is correct in this character. I think this card lets your once per game feel very good. Stack what you want. Once per game, do the thing. Says your once per game is good, passing is good, destined is good. I think this card is a little cracked in this character. The only issue is that it's a 6 diff, but they have to have a bunch of foundations on board because you're going to stun to them every turn. So like their goal is to build, and then you are turning them all sideways. So this is a 4 diff, 5 high for 6 that draws you whatever you want out of your discard pile. Incredible. It's very, very strong. The next card is just Jab. I think this card as it's a 3 diff, right? This card is not a fair Universes card. 1 high block with Breaker. It's a 3 mid for 5 stun 2. Like, that's insane. It's just like your character says that this is a 4 diff back alley that's 1 speed slower. Who cares? Like, this card both builds and draws later in the game. Like, this card's cracked.
As a stun deck, I care about that difference, to be honest. The difference between 3 speed and 4 speed makes a very, very big difference when you're talking about having them fully stunned out.
Sure. I love that. You've got 4 Valiant Assaults in this deck. Worst block.
Which is one of those... Valiant Assault is one of those things that I feel like is there for the Deku 2 more than the Deku 3.
Sure. I agree completely. The next thing is just Heroic Strike. Like, this card, like, this is just a Deku 3 card. This card's cracked in this character.
What, you thought stun 4 wasn't enough? You needed stun 5?
Yeah.
Stun 6?
Yeah. This is just a wind-up punch in your character that is a 4 diff, right? This is Back Alley Heroic Strike stun 6 is insane. Right? The only issue is this card doesn't hit very hard, but it says that, like, as your third move, your Texas is just going to land. It's just going to land. And so...
Or Texas into it is still plenty of damage.
Correct. Yeah. And as a 4 diff that has stun 4, it's a 4 high for 5. Like, there's not a lot that you have to ask for, right? Like, I think that's, like, decent enough, truthfully. You know? I just put this in because my brain said I was deck building. You know what Advice for does. Lost in Thought on the foundations. Lost in Thought not being in your deck is crazy to me. I think this is the absolute best good foundation that exists. I think this is the reason the good symbol even works right now. This card is so cracked in half. This card is insane. This card's insane.
I feel like what was keeping me from having it in there was that I wasn't fully committing to the face down and recursion with Hardened Jab and stuff.
Sure.
I think if I'm putting in Hardened Jab, Lost in Thought automatically goes in.
So I don't disagree with you. You're currently playing Chop and it can't be fixed, so things are going to get stuck face down. And at the very least, right? At the very least, what Lost in Thought says is, oh, I'm holding 2/1 high blocks. I will Lost in Thought myself sacrifice, build down one of these high blocks, and then have your low block. Get rid of your offensive piece, pick up my block. This card makes you Kirishima 1.
I'm not gonna fight you about it at all. It's
this
a
card's
good card.
cracked. This card's cracked. So I wanted you to say I was right. All right, that's what I want.
It's really just it didn't feel like it fit, and I felt like the value turn 2 against Ojiro wasn't there.
Fair. Bonds of Friendship. I've had this card be absolutely massive currently in the when I was playing a good deck of, like, just expanding my health pool. It went up to, I mean, it's a 4 of in my deck, but I also didn't have things like Photogenic Hero in the deck, as like another high block slot. And so, like, there's the question. And then your character gives damage, you need to give speed somehow, right? Like, this is the way that you make your Texas Smashed move hit. You've got this combined with One with Nature, and I think that this card is, like, really, really valuable in punch decks, even if it's just like a 1 of, right? I think this card is a good ass move just because of how hard punches hit. The damage stat on punches is very good. Where does it go? We'll find out, but there's that.
Yeah, I mean, all these attacks aside, foundations are all things that have been in versions of the deck.
Yeah. And
just got cut for this version.
Love it. What's this number look like?
55 to 58 is where I would want it to be.
Okay. And then
it's
19?
Not the 50 that I wanted for Deku 2 when I was playing that.
Okay.
I think 18 or 19 attacks, depending on if we're at the low end or the high end of that.
Okay. I'm in. So here's my big takeaway from, like, what your attack lineup looks like right now, right? You're actually playing an entire 5 diff lineup. Here's what I mean.
fake 5 diff.
This is 5 diff. This is 5 diff. This is 5 diff. Right, in order to initially play it. And then these cards don't have abilities if they're not played on 5s.
Oh, I understand what you meant.
Yeah. That was more for the YouTube video than for you. But
yeah,
I think if we were able to, like, cut some of these for this heroic strike and jab, I think that you would probably feel better. What I want to do, truthfully, is I want to take Valiant Assault and I want to drop it down to a 2 of and have you play 2 jab.
I don't think that's going far enough.
You wanted 3 and 1?
I think there are times where I was happy I had a Valiant Assault in my hand, but there are also times where I had just Valiant Assault and Texas Smash in my hand, and I didn't know how I built my turn off of that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm going to do that. Valiant Assault's going to be the 1 of. We're going to take a jab. We're going to push it up to a 3 of, and then see where else we can go from there. Obviously, we're not going to touch back alley. Chop at the 4 of. Sell me on this.
That was at 4 because I could take it out to put in the attacks for Deku 2 without thinking too much about it.
Okay, that's fair. Can I drop it down to a 2 of and then just toss in 2 heroic strike? Because the absolute, so chop is like a beautiful lead in. So like I'm gonna explain some lines out loud just so I can help myself, right? The absolute best turn opener we have is just Haymaker, right? I just want to always have Haymaker first, and then followed by that, like the next thing in line is probably Chop, because I check a 5, commit a face down, destroy, re-ready, right? Like that feels great. From
not quite always. Sometimes there are situations where I'd rather have a wind-up punch in my hand first.
As the opener?
Yep.
Just to discard and then do the thing? Yeah. That's totally fair. But my thought is when it comes to Chop, like it doesn't feel amazing opening double Chop, right? Unless like they're in such a bad position. It's normally like you want 1 Chop a turn in order to do its job.
I'd say if you're already stacked up to 3 or 4 characters, double Chop is a fine opener.
Oh, sure. That's fair.
If you're early game, back alley almost always, yeah.
My average whenever I play this guy is I get 1 or 2 characters. I so rarely get 3. It's so rare. Just because like that 0 mid block in hand is like so potent.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
A lot of games I didn't have any stacked.
Yeah, so a lot of this is like I almost treat like Midoriya as if he's Dave Wagner, right? Just like, this thing gets a damage, it's fine. That's not part of my calculations, you know.
He's definitely a character mostly for the middle ability.
Sure, absolutely, completely and totally agree. I think this is the attack lineup that I would go with personally. I like this a lot, and just like give this a shot. If you wanted to be absolutely crazy with it, and like instead of one of these wind-up punches, you could do one of these final smashes, I think that's neat. Maybe not needed because of like what our block situation looks like. I just know that I'm a big fan of Final Smash, and if you haven't tried Final Smash in Deku 3, I recommend it. It feels very good just being like, oh, what piece do I need right now? Hey, I did it. I found it.
Yeah, so reinforcing, I'm taking this to a PSC this weekend too, and I played it 2 weeks back.
Okay.
I only have 1 Final Smash because I'm not super enamored by the starter decks in the first place.
Sure.
But it is something I would like to try at a 1 of, but at the same time, there were a bunch of situations where Wind-Up Punch was a 5 diff for the entire match.
Yeah.
Which means if I drew Final Smash, I just probably wouldn't play it at 6 diff. Unless I really needed to fish out 1 attack that turned on my entire string.
Right.
Like fish out a Texas Smash because I have 3 wind-up punches in my hand or something.
Yeah, it being like your 5th copy of like Back Alley or Texas, or like you've checked your Valiant early and you want to draw some cards, like go fish out your Valiant, like it feels good, right? As that recursion, and like you have draw on face, and it's like there's not a better use than like stack the thing, do the thing, you know? Yeah. So yeah, maybe play some games. Play some games with the attack lineup currently. Maybe toss in the one final smash over top of one of these wind up punches, and see where it goes. With that said, like this is really getting away from the Deku 2 list because like this card wants to be in Deku 2 so unbelievably badly. And so like
I don't think Deku 2 is necessary. I think playing it through 5 rounds convinced me that it is more than strong enough to hold its own by itself.
Yeah.
Against anything but like lucky Ojiro 2s.
Sure. I think that's totally fair.
Which every Ojiro 2 game except for one was I survive a turn, but then they put a couple foundations down, and the next turn it just all falls apart because 8 attacks coming in. But I don't need to rehash everything Ojiro 2 does to you.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair. Let's talk about foundations. So I personally am a staunch new training method hater. I think unless you have something you're really specifically looking for, like a build around card for that response, the bottom response, I think the top response is only really good on turn 1 and then never is useful for the rest of the game. So if you had a card... I
don't disagree, but at the same time, new training method allows you to fairly consistently going second, build out 6 cards, especially with a passing the torch. It's really convincing defense.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that even a little bit. I think that is very good. I 100% would just straight trade it out for Lost in Thought. I think being able to take and toss one of Nature's back in Ojiro's hand and be like, you need to rebuild that, is worth it. I think this card touching One of Nature is incredible. It doesn't even have to necessarily like pick up your kill condition or whatever. Just be like, yo, you don't have that card anymore. Figure it out. I think that has way more value than I built an extra one, right? I also think that celebrity status easily gets taken out for like note taking or bonds of friendship. This card is very cool. This card is cool in tandem with cool tactically with pull no punches. It's incredible with your character, right? But you do have to like not use that momentum, and you've got back alley haymakers, EX, and wind up punches powerful that you're down to spend that momentum on. Like that's an okay thing to spend it on, as opposed to like find the attack. So like this card is good. I don't think it needs to be a 3 of. I would like if you're like I have to keep celebrity status in and I refuse to play the other one, I would just swap this one of these out, put this at a 2 of, put this at a 4 of, because this just helps confirm checks.
I think I'm fine going down to 2 celebrity status because oftentimes it does show up in multiples in my staging area and feels blank.
Yeah. But, and there's that, right? It's blank if you don't have the momentum, and it's blank if you even if you have the momentum and you're like, I can't afford to put this on top of my deck and then redraw. Like I just can't do that. Yeah. Whereas this card's like, if I check a 3, I'm gonna lose the game. Name attack, flip. Oh, got it, crushed it. Yeah, this card just feels like a better card. Yeah, I think the only low block that I added in was just note taking. So maybe it could be.
I think the other thing that I'm willing to get rid of is photogenic hero, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
Like, if we were playing standard, photogenic hero goes in like every stacker.
Yeah.
But I think it's just not enough situations where I would not just play the character out of my hand and then build for an extra turn.
Yeah, I think removing a ready foundation on defense is really, really bad right now. I think that you can't afford to have -1 to your checks for the turn.
It also just doesn't realistically have alternate value. It's just looking for one thing, which means you have to draw one of the 2 ofs, and then you have to draw one of the 3 ofs in your deck.
Yeah.
In the right order at the right time.
Yeah. Here's what I'm thinking. Let's cut the photogenic hero. It's gone. I'm gonna put in 2 Lost in Thought. When you test this card and you feel like it's doing, I want you to actually compare like the situations that you're having with Lost in Thought versus New Training Method, and whichever one you think is just doing a better job at doing its job, make that the 3 of, right? So leave New Training Method at the 3 of currently, and then Lost in Thought at the 2 of. If you think Lost in Thought deserves to take first chair over top of New Training Method, swap them out, and I think you'll be satisfied.
I think given that I'm looking more at turn 3, turn 4s this deck, I'm willing to give it a shot in a PSC that honestly doesn't matter too much to just not play New Training Method.
Oh, I'm in. We'll toss that, and then we'll put you at the 3 of, and we're just going to toss in 2 note-taking. And if I can convince you to take out one of these determines for a note-taking, I'm in. I don't know. I have been so hit or miss on determined because it means that I have to be holding foundations because my attacks just already have decent enough block mods that like committing the determined is normally like -1 speed.
So the reason I'm not going to go less than 2 determines is because 1 with nature exists, and determine always beats 1 with nature.
Sure. I think that's completely fair.
It has saved me multiple times just against 1 with nature decks.
This is probably where I would leave it. I guess my last big thing.
The 1 of Final Smash, I think.
Oh, let's let's take out just one of these, right? Take out you, put in you.
Probably.
The last thing of note is even in Deku 1, I was finding passing the torch not being what I wanted it to be. I mainboard 3 this past weekend and didn't miss it. And even in most of my sideboarding would side 1 or more out.
I have had the longest history with being on the fence with passing the torch. Going up to 4 of was testing out a Keenan Meadows idea. Call out to Keenan Meadows just typing something in chat.
Sure.
I am not convinced that I want this out 100% of games by turn 1.
So I think this card is incredible whenever you go first and you build out like double passing, and then you play a hardened jab, build 1, commit double passing, and then draw a million cards, and then build again, hold 2, and have built 7 more foundations, hit the cusp of deadlock, and look at them and go, I don't think you can do it, right? You build out a couple Lost in Thoughts, you build out like a specialist to block, 1 self-sacrifice, like you just build out the thing. I think passing going second is abysmal. I think that you should just like drop it down to a 1 of going second and just like put in, here's where like your So Manly's go, or another Lost in Thought, or truthfully,
I think in your first situation, I would rather still cut the 4th copy of Passing the Torch and just start with a 3rd copy of Specialist, because speed matters more than cards in my hand normally.
Sure, I'm down. It also like it's another low block, so just trying to even you back out. Not that necessarily matters because it was a 3 low, and you're probably not going to block with it, but means you can block with
Shares 2 symbols with Determine.
Yeah, the last card that was like, if I would have fought any freaking Ojiros, Bewildered was really nuts. You can maybe look at sideboarding a couple of them. It felt very, very good at just like having just a bunch of health. There was
I'm not sure that I know what that card is.
It's a
2/5 Deku card.
Yeah, 2/5/3 mid block. It's a Deku Torino card. If they have 3 or more attack cards in their card pool, reduce the speed or damage of this move by 3. And so against Ojiro, it just cancels his speed or damage depending on what you want, and then you just make the block happen. So that just feels good, you know?
I think I'd honestly just mainboard So Manly before that, if I'm being honest.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Or maybe Capture Evildoers. How do you feel about the necessity of playing extra copies of Midoriya himself?
I could drop him down to like a 3 of.
Is
Yeah.
it something you've tested out, just playing like the solo copy and seeing how that goes?
I have not. I think adding one more on top of you is very, very good. So just even like the consistency of just getting one more is pretty good.
I don't think I'm at a point where I want to test that right now, but the thought is there to just put in actions instead because of how strong Capture Evildoers is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I like this main board. I think it's really, really good. I think this is probably what I would be testing. Lost in Thoughts nuts.
Yeah, it's really just fighting the urge to be the problem and playing something fun instead.
Right. Yeah, I fully get it. All right, man.
But yeah,
Let me
we
stay on the
can
line
sit
long
here and
enough for you to
talk
shoot you the
about this
list.
for hours.
For sure, 100%. All right. Easy peasy. Thanks, man.
Thank you.